Welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast, your place for short reviews from a gamer with the goal of reducing his backlog. From adventures to sandboxes, join our host as we walk through a collection of unplayed treasures. Now, let's take a look at the featured game of this episode of the Never Ending Backlog.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Never Ending Backlog podcast. I am your host, Zach, and today we'll be reviewing the PC top-view horror point-and-click shooter, Kalaban. Kalaban is very similar to Silent Hill, maybe H1Z1, except it's top-view with an illustrative design. It does have some survival aspects where you need to manage food, and you also need to scavenge for items, resources within the buildings and bodies of the people and the creatures that you kill. Some of the pros, the food management system is similar to Minecraft, I would say. However, I didn't die when I ran out of food, and I also don't think I've lost any health as well. I do know if you have food, you do regenerate health, or at least you regenerate faster, so it's similar to Minecraft's health and food bar. It just doesn't hurt you when you run out of food. Apparently, some other pros is there's a pulsating alien life form substance. So if you've seen Stranger Things Season 3, you'll probably find a little bit of similarities there, which I'm not mad at. I love Stranger Things Season 3, and I loved all Stranger Things. So, pretty cool plot. It's generic so far, or at least you kind of expect what's going to happen, or you expect who the protagonist is going to be. But then again, I'm only an hour in, so maybe it'll change. Don't really know. The design looks nice, and the controls are also pretty nice overall. There's really nothing out of the ordinary. You can tell that the interfaces were relatively well done. The graphics are nice, the design, the illustrations, all that stuff's pretty good. Unfortunately, that's pretty much where the pros end up. Let me jump into the cons. The monsters always glitch out on items constantly. There were werewolves running into walls, giant creatures and bugs stuck on boxes. Countless times I'd go into the new world and you just see them completely stuck the entire time. So it was frustrating. Not very challenging in regards to that. Every time I died, though, and I chose to restart the scene, which is basically just restart, my resolution would kick back to full screen, even though I had it on windowed mode, because it did not function properly with NVIDIA Surround. It would also do this, though, when I went to a new area of the map. So, think of kind of like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, where you go to, the edge of the map and it goes to a new part of the map. Every time I did that, it reset the resolution back to the same default. So, extremely frustrating. It was a poor experience. It's just, I don't know, it's pretty junky regarding that part of it. You do start by fighting werewolves and giant lightning bugs that catch things on fire, which is cool. Like I said, it's all kind of like a drawn, illustrated approach. So, props on that one. It seems really cool. But then it immediately ramped up to people with guns. However, the guns do uber damage, and your character has a hatchet that apparently does no damage to humans. In fact, most of the screenshots that you see for this game show your character with the hatchet, leading me to believe that guns are quite rare in the game. So it is kind of interesting to see that part of it. It's a little frustrating. It seems almost like the game is purposely made difficult regarding that, where it's like, your hatchet takes 30 hits on a human, but it's 2 shots and you're dead. And we're just going to purposely make it that way just to make it hard and frustrating. It's like, but there's no real purpose you made it hard. You just made it hard. That kind of leads me to the next point, and this is the most frustrating part for me. Like I said, when the UI UX kind of changes, the resolution goes back when you leave the new map. You can tell that there were some bugs that weren't fixed. And unfortunately, the game crashed after being killed by a monster. But then the worst part, and this part is actually pretty funny, the game would then respawn me into instant death over and over again. So, you spawn, die, spawn, die, spawn, die. And it was really frustrating. But then eventually, the screen actually glitched out. So then you wouldn't see the screen at all with your character. You would just see a black screen with blood kind of rolling over the screen. And it's like, you died. And then it just do that in repetition. So think of like the opening 007, any 007 game where James Bond would shoot down the barrel and the blood would trickle down. That's the effect you get over and over again. The other downside, though, is you couldn't push escape fast enough to pop up the menu to stop this. So you'd have to be really, really quick. So eventually that became a game in itself where it's like, can I exit out of this game fast enough from respawning here? So eventually I did. And this is where it gets even better. You might think, how can this get more frustrating? It does. So I delete my game. I start a new game, which it basically says like, hey, if you do this, you're gonna have a new game. Okay, that's what I want to do. That makes sense. I started off in the cabin. That's where you start the game. And immediately red blood rolls on the screen. So it's like a persistent death that followed me into a whole brand new game. I instantly died. There was no monsters there. I had completed that the first time I played the game. There's like a little storyline. You check out all these items. There's no monsters at all. It's basically you learn about what's happening. So death followed me into a new game. That's how intensive this game is. It's insane. I've never seen this happen before. After deleting a game or deleting a saved game and it still persists following you. It's crazy. I actually had to delete the game. And then when I tried it back, it still kept doing it. I had to go and make sure all my cloud and hidden saved files were completely removed and basically do a full purge to actually be able to get back into the game and start a new game. Unfortunately, about 5 minutes into the new game, it did it again. So this might actually be the only in the first game that I actually won't put an hour into because it's crashed hard every single time. I feel like I almost just want to open it up and just leave it on the menu to get to my 1 hour so I never have to look back at it again. But I'll probably go back to it because I want to finish or at least get an hour into it so I can at least say it's done. But this one will probably be the hardest one for me to actually have to do. So I'm going to keep on trying. There were a lot of inaccuracies. When I approached a boss in the script or dialogue, it said that I pointed a gun at him. But I had a hatchet. I didn't have a gun. I would have loved to have a gun because immediately that's when I started seeing the gun trenchcoat men that were shooting me, or trenchcoat people, I guess, that were shooting me. So that's pretty frustrating. Also, there's many times where I pick up a health kit or an item or an apple or something, and it would just immediately disappear. It would never be in my inventory. So it just, not only does it have permadeath that follows you in new games, it also has disappearing food. That's cool, I guess. There are some fun things, though. There's some pretty funny moments here. If you right-click an item on the map, not like an actual item in your inventory, but like say you see a barrel or a box, if you right-click it, you kind of force it to jiggle and pull it towards you. So think of like a Jedi force pulling things to you. That's your character. 95% sure it's a glitch. It shouldn't be happening, but it's fun. It's fun like going across the screen and pulling boxes towards your character. It's pretty funny. The cultist leader, so one of the main guys you see, like the bosses, I guess. You don't fight him yet, or at least I haven't yet. He looks like he belongs in Team Rocket. Like from Pokemon. Totally does. Like he has the ensemble. He has the emo hair. He totally belongs in Team Rocket. I think this team took them from Team Rocket. So, it's pretty funny. My hero's name is Bob. There's that. It does play European EDM whenever a boss is near you. So, if you like European EDM, then you'll probably like this game then. There's a funny quote where it says, nobody ever notices Finland anyways, which I think that's pretty hilarious. Like, that's hilarious. Like, ouch. Like, poor Finland. How do they feel about this? Current price on Steam is $4.99. Consider it broke 3 times. I'm probably going to say that's not worth it. The price has been as low as 19 cents, though. So that says something. They do have a soundtrack available, which I like that. And they have a free demo. So, honestly, try out the demo. See if you can get further than I can. Maybe it works for you. Maybe the demo is actually not corrupted. Maybe it's just the full game's corrupted. Maybe I just got gypped because I bought the full game. How dare I? The developer is Ray House Productions and GRM Software, or Game Realm Madness, which they seem to be more of an active mobile game and software developer rather than PC game. They do have a most recent release as Area 51 Defense, which is a survival shooter. It's not too far different from Kalaban. However, it seems kind of closer to have a UI UX similar to AI Invasion, which I'm not looking forward to trying that out. It might pop up in a future Humble Bundle or Bundle Stars in the future, and we'll see. But for right now, I don't want it. I'm not going to buy it. probably. Unless you guys ask me to do it, I guess I might. So some final notes I wanted to put in here. I'm changing the theme a little bit on whether or not I choose to delete it or delete it or keep it. Primarily just because I realize my hard drive is going to fill up super fast. I have some big games coming up, in the future. There's a lot of games that I have in my backlog that are not small games. They're also not old games. Like I have the new Witcher that I have not played yet. And I'm going to be one of those people that's like, oh, you have the new Witcher and you've never played it? Yep, that's me. Sorry. So there might be a lot of these games that I end up keeping and it'll fill up too fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow very similar to Steam's rating system, because I do rate all these games on Steam after I host these podcasts, because A, gets people to listen to my podcast. So thanks for listening. But then not only that, I like reviewing games. I think it's pretty fun. It's pretty helpful. It helps my friends out, which I appreciate, that type of stuff. So I'm going to do either recommend or not recommend. And this also allows me to be a little bit more blunt with the game developer stuff, where it's like, hey, don't buy this game yet. It's not worth it yet. If you see a patch update where they fix what I said, cool, then buy it. But until then, don't buy it. Don't spend money on this. Is what I want to prevent. Don't spend money on this. Because there's a lot of games I'm going to recommend that I'm not going to keep installed. It's just because I don't like them. Like Back to the Future is a prime example. I already deleted it off my computer, but I'd still recommend it because it's a good game. And, that type of stuff's going to happen. So I'll always find the positives in the games. I mean, to be honest, I used to play Game Maker. I know it's still out there, but I used to play Game Maker for like Windows 95 a long time ago. And I used to actually build my own games, or try to. And, I was building a Pong alternative. That thing took forever. So, and that's just through Game Maker. And that was Pong. So props to anybody that makes games. Like Kalaban, I couldn't even imagine making that in Game Maker. That sounds miserable. Oh, so much work. So, props to them for this one. I will always say, with Kalaban, I can see what they tried to do. Like, I can see what the developers, Ray House and GRM Software, tried to do. They wanted a survival game with a food and inventory management. They had pretty interesting bad guys. I like the artistic style. It's kind of a darker, grittier illustration. I think it could have been a really fun horror survival game. However, I think they just tried to do too much. And I read a lot of reviews where they said the very similar thing. Like, they were just really ambitious, which is a really good thing. But they couldn't find time to finish any one part of it. And therefore, I can't recommend the game, unfortunately. There's just too many bugs. It just doesn't work properly. It was poorly developed in the sense that it wasn't built for the user, where, resolution's refreshing and all these other things happening. It's not a good experience, unfortunately. So can't recommend this game. Props to the developers for trying. I think it has a lot of opportunities. If they go back and they're like, oh, we're just going to spend a year and fix this game, I'm happy to re-review and try it again. But based on the feedback I got, I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, that was Kalaban. You can buy it on PC Game Store for $4.99 on Steam. Or, like I said, lowest price it's been is 19 cents. So there you go. And sorry, Finland, I noticed you.